At Thanksgiving, my brother stated, "I'm launching a restaurant with a $100,000 grandma bequeathed me." Everyone applauded. Grandma bequeathed him nothing. She willed me $890,000 to assist your brother if he ever matures. He'd appropriated Grandma's signature. I smirked, remaining silent. 3 weeks later, when law enforcement arrived at his grand opening. Music intro. Somber, reflective, then builds slightly. You know, there's a moment in life when someone you've always loved, or at least tolerated, does something so utterly, shamelessly fake that it shifts the very ground beneath your feet. For me, that moment hit like a punch to the gut at Thanksgiving. I watched my brother stand there, grinning, lying through his teeth about our dead grandma, and everybody clapped. What if I told you that lie, that one audacious, calculating lie, led straight to him being handcuffed at his own grand opening, just 3 weeks later? And what if I told you I was the one who made sure it happened? Pause, slightly deeper tone. It was Thanksgiving. We were packed into my parents' dining room, just like always. Too many people, too small a table. The turkey was dry, and my mom, bless her heart, had candles lit everywhere, like we were filming some perfect commercial for a life that didn't exist. My son, Noah, was next to me. 8 years old, small for his age, quiet. He was wearing that nice sweater that always made his neck itch. He gets really quiet around my family. He'd brought this little card he made for Grandma's place setting. Grandma had been gone for 6 months, but Noah, sweet kid, wrote, "I miss you. I saved you a seat." He slid it under her old napkin ring, then gave this little smile, like he'd done something important, a secret good deed. Then my brother, Ryan, waited until everyone had food on their plates. He stood up, clinked his glass. No prayer. No toast to family. He didn't even mention Grandma. He just grinned, like he was on stage, and announced, "Big news, everyone. I'm opening a restaurant." People actually gasped, like he'd just announced a baby. Then he leaned into it, louder, "And I'm doing it with the $100,000 Grandma left me." And everyone clapped. My dad slapped the table and laughed. My mom's eyes welled up, like it was a Hallmark movie playing out right in front of us. My aunt, always the enabler, piped up, "That's exactly what she would have wanted." Ryan just soaked it all in, this wave of applause, like it was his birthright. Then he reached into a shopping bag and pulled out 3 bright red chef hats. You know, those cheap, bulk order ones. He handed them to my sister's kids. "Junior kitchen crew," he declared. They shrieked with joy, jammed them on. Noah's eyes flickered toward the bag. He didn't ask. He didn't reach. He just watched, hopeful, in that careful way kids get when they've learned not to expect much. Ryan looked right past him, like Noah wasn't even there. My mom caught my eye and gave me a little don't start look. Then Ryan said, even louder, "It'll be a family business. Real family. People who show up." And he smiled when he said it. Noah's cheeks went pink. He stared down at his mashed potatoes, started pressing his fork into them, over and over, like he could just disappear into the plate. My throat tightened so fast, I could barely swallow. I wanted to stand up. I wanted to scream, "My kid is sitting right here." But I didn't. Because in that exact moment, with everyone clapping for a lie, I finally understood what Ryan was doing. He wasn't just announcing a restaurant. He was marking territory. And my kid was always the one he chose to step on. I just smiled, because I'd spent most of my life learning how to smile through it. I cut my turkey. I took a sip of water. I said nothing. Not at that table. Not then. Pause. Reflective tone. My name's Eric. I was 39 back then. I lived 20 minutes from my parents' place in this small 2-bedroom townhouse that always smelled faintly of hand wraps and laundry detergent. See, I coach boxing for a living. Not the glamorous kind. I train teenagers who need somewhere to channel their anger. Women who want to feel safe walking to their cars. Older guys who just need a reason not to drink every night. I ran early classes. I mopped my own floors. I taped my own heavy bags when they split. Noah, my son, was 8. Small, quiet, polite. He'd line up his pencils by color. He loved drawing menus on scrap paper, these intricate little lists of made-up foods. He still called my gym Dad's workplace, like it was one word. His mom? She wasn't in the picture. That's the cleanest way to say it without opening a whole other wound. It had been just him and me for years. My family loved to talk about how hard that must be. Then they'd turn around and treat Noah like he was a guest who'd stayed too long. Ryan, on the other hand, was always the main character. If you asked my parents, Ryan had potential. If you asked me, Ryan had a pattern. He'd show up with big ideas and empty pockets. And somehow, I'd be the one plugging the holes while everyone called it helping family. It started small. Can you spot me 200 till Friday? Then it was, my car insurance is about to lapse. Then, I'm behind on rent, just this month. My parents were always involved, like a relay team passing guilt. My mom would call me with that soft voice she used when she wanted something. Eric, honey, Ryan stressed. He's trying. You know how he gets. My dad would be more blunt. You're the responsible one. He needs you. And I was the responsible one. So I paid. I'd send money through apps. I'd write checks. I'd cover a bill and tell myself it was temporary. There was a whole year I paid Ryan's phone, his truck payment, and his business course because he said he was learning management. That course, by the way, turned out to be a weekend seminar at a hotel with free donuts. When Noah was 5, I still had a joint account with my mom. Years earlier, she'd helped me set it up when I was barely scraping by. She called it our family cushion. What it really was, though, was a funnel. Every time my parents needed a little help, it came from that account. Every time Ryan just needed a boost, it came from that account. I was the one putting money in. They were the ones taking comfort out. And the whole time, they acted like I was lucky to be included. No one noticed more than he ever said. He noticed how Grandma's house had framed photos of the other grandkids in the hallway and none of him. He noticed how Ryan's kids got loud birthday parties at my parents' place, and Noah got a grocery store cake with happy birthday written crooked. He noticed how my mom would say, give Grandma a hug, to the other kids. But with Noah, she'd say, oh, he's shy, like it was a flaw. I kept telling myself things would balance out. I told myself Ryan would grow up. I told myself my parents would soften. I told myself Grandma saw the truth. Because Grandma always had. Grandma was the only one who ever looked Ryan in the eye and said, stop lying. She was the only one who ever put her hand on Noah's head and said, you're a good boy. When she got sick, I was the one driving her to appointments. Not because I was a saint, but because Ryan couldn't get off work, which was a polite way of saying he didn't have steady work. And my parents were too overwhelmed, which was a polite way of saying they were tired, and it was easier if I handled it. I took Grandma to chemo. I sat in waiting rooms with a bag of pretzels and my gym schedule on my phone. I paid for a ramp at her back door when she started using a walker. I didn't even tell anyone at first. I just did it. And I helped her with paperwork because her hands shook. That's how I found out, by accident, that Grandma had been dealing with Ryan's mess for years. There were old bank statements with overdraft fees circled in pen. Notes in the margins. Little angry reminders to herself. Ryan took $2,000 again. Signature looked wrong. Need to lock checks. The last year of her life, she started keeping her checkbook in a tin in the freezer. That's not a joke. In the freezer. Because she knew Ryan wouldn't look there. That's the kind of potential my brother had. A month before Grandma passed, she asked me to come over alone. No Noah. No parents. Just me. She sat at her kitchen table, wrapped in a blanket, and slid an envelope across to me. I'm not asking you to open it now, she said, her voice thin. But I'm asking you to listen. I listened. She said, your brother will try something. I don't know what, but he will. She said, your mother will cry. Your father will yell. They'll tell you to fix it. She reached for my hand. Her fingers felt like paper. Then she said, don't let them use Noah to pull you back in. My eyes burned. I nodded because I couldn't talk. And then she said the line. The one I'll never forget. I left you what I left you because you already pay for everyone. I'm giving you a chance to stop. I didn't know what she meant until after the funeral. The will reading was in a plain office with beige walls and a bowl of mints no one touched. Ryan showed up late, wearing cologne like he was going on a date. My mom dabbed her eyes the whole time. My dad sat rigid, jaw tight. Noah sat next to me, his feet swinging, clutching a little toy car. The attorney cleared his throat and started going through the document. Small gifts first. A few cousins got $5,000. My aunt got grandma's jewelry. Then he got to Ryan. He paused. Like he already knew it was going to get loud. To my grandson, Ryan, he read, I leave $0. Ryan laughed at first, like it was a prank. Then the attorney continued. To my grandson, Eric, I leave $890,000. My mom made a choking sound. My dad's head snapped up. Ryan's face went blank, then red, then twisted like he'd been slapped. The attorney held up a separate letter. There is also a note, he read out loud. To Eric, help your brother if he ever grows up. That room went silent. In the worst way. Ryan's eyes locked on mine, like he wanted to climb across the table. My mom whispered, she didn't mean that. My dad said, that's not right. And I sat there, Noah's warm little hand in mine, and understood exactly what Grandma meant. She didn't give me money because she trusted me to be generous. She gave me money because she trusted me to finally say no. Beat. Voice tight with frustration. After that day, my family story changed. In their version, Grandma had lost it at the end. In their version, Ryan was robbed. In their version, I was lucky, and luck meant I owed everyone. My mom started calling the inheritance family money, like it was a pot of soup we all shared. Ryan started dropping comments immediately. Man, Grandma really did you solid, huh? Or, so, what are you doing for the family? My dad didn't even pretend. He said, you know you have to help your brother now. Grandma put it in writing. He said that like a command, not a request, not even a discussion. And that's where the real pattern showed itself. Because it wasn't just that they wanted me to help. It was that they felt entitled to decide what help meant. To them, help meant I fund Ryan's life while my kid keeps getting pushed to the edge of every room. Ryan came to my gym one morning, leaned on the front desk like he owned the place. Listen, he said, all casual. I'm not asking for much. He always started that way. Then he said, I need $100,000. I actually laughed because I thought he was messing with me. He didn't laugh back. He said flat, restaurant build out, equipment, lease deposit. You'll get it back. I asked, from what income? He shrugged. From the restaurant, obviously. I said, do you have a business plan? He just gave me this airy wave of his hand. I have a vision. That word, vision, like I was supposed to clap. I told him no. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just no. His smile dropped. He leaned closer, lowered his voice. You know what Grandma wrote? He hissed. Help your brother. I looked at him. Asterisk when you grow up asterisk, I said. He stared at me like he didn't know what to do with a boundary that didn't come with a lecture. Then he did what he always did. He went around me. He went to my parents. And my parents came to me. My mom cried on the phone. My dad showed up at my gym and cornered me near the heavy bags while teenagers pretended not to listen. You're embarrassing your brother, he said. I wiped sweat off my hands. I'm not funding him. My dad's face tightened. Then you're choosing money over family. I didn't answer that because I finally understood the truth. They had been choosing money over me for years. They just called it family. Return to Thanksgiving, building tension, which brings me back to Thanksgiving. Ryan, standing in my parents' dining room, claiming Grandma left him $100,000. Everyone clapped like they were at a ribbon cutting. Noah, small and quiet, watching my brother hand out chef hats like status symbols. I smiled. I said nothing, because Ryan didn't just lie. He lied with a specific number. A clean, confident number. The kind of number you use when you think you can back it up. And I had this sinking feeling in my gut that he thought he had backed it up. After dessert, while the adults drifted into the living room, Noah stayed at the table, tracing the edge of Grandma's napkin ring. I asked him if he was okay. He nodded, too fast. Then he said, "Uncle Ryan doesn't like me." It wasn't a question. It was a conclusion. I swallowed hard. "That's not your fault, buddy." Noah shrugged, like he already knew adults didn't fix things. Then he said, "Grandma did." And that nearly broke me, because Grandma wasn't here anymore. And I was still letting them make my kid feel like he needed permission to exist. I took Noah home early. I told my parents he had a stomach ache. That was easier than telling the truth. In the car, Noah just stared out the window the whole way, quiet, shoulders tucked in. When we got home, he went straight to his room. I stood in my kitchen, looking at the fridge where Noah had taped one of Grandma's old handwritten recipes I'd copied for him. Grilled cheese. "But do it with love," it said in her shaky cursive. I took a deep breath, grabbed my phone, and did the one thing I'd been avoiding because I knew it would blow up my whole family. I called Grandma's attorney. Shift to decisive, almost clinical tone. The next morning I sat in a small office again. But this time, it wasn't beige and polite. It was practical. The attorney, Mr. Feldman, slid documents across his desk like he'd been waiting for me to catch up. "I'm glad you came in," he said. I told him what Ryan said at Thanksgiving. The exact words. The exact number. Mr. Feldman didn't look surprised. He nodded once and said, "We need to talk about a filing that came in 2 weeks ago." He turned his screen toward me. There was a document with Grandma's name on it. A request for an early distribution from the estate. $100,000. My stomach dropped. Mr. Feldman pointed to the signature. "Do you recognize that?" he asked. I stared at it. It looked like Grandma's signature if you squinted. But Grandma's signature had a certain wobble at the end. A small loop she always made, even when her hands were shaking. This one didn't have the loop. This one looked like someone drew her name the way they remembered it. I didn't say anything for a moment. I could feel heat rising behind my eyes. Then I asked, "Did this go through?" Mr. Feldman said, "We flagged it. We held it. I wanted you to see it." He paused, then said gently, "Eric, this is forgery." My hands went cold. I thought about Grandma hiding her checkbook in the freezer. I thought about her telling me, "He will try something." I swallowed. "What happens now?" Mr. Feldman said, "That depends on what you want to do." I stared at the paper again. Then I thought about Noah at the Thanksgiving table, pressing his fork into mashed potatoes like he didn't deserve to look up. I thought about Ryan saying, "real family." And something settled in me. Not rage. Not drama. Just clarity. I said, "I want to report it." Mr. Feldman nodded. Like he'd expected that too. He handed me a card. "Here's the detective assigned to estate fraud cases in your county. If you want to do this, do it clean." So I did. That was my boundary. One clean financial move. Not a speech. Not a threat. A report. That afternoon, I sat across from a detective in a small station office that smelled like burnt coffee. I brought the documents. I brought copies of Grandma's old signatures from checks she wrote to the utility company. I brought the note she'd written to me. I didn't add drama. I didn't exaggerate. I just told the truth. The detective, a woman with tired eyes and a neat bun, studied the pages. Then she said, "Has your brother had access to her paperwork?" I laughed once, without humor. "He had access to her whole life," I said. She nodded slowly. "Okay, we'll take it from here." She had me sign a statement. I signed it calmly. My hand didn't shake. I walked out of the station, sat in my car, and stared at my steering wheel for a full minute before I started the engine. Then I drove to pick up Noah from school. Like it was a normal day. Because for him, it needed to be normal. For once, I wasn't going to make my child carry my family's mess. Phone ringing, frantic pace. The fallout started within hours. Like someone had hit a hornet's nest. My mom called first. I didn't answer. She texted, "Call me. It's urgent." then my dad, then Ryan, then my aunt, then a cousin I barely talked to. By dinner, my phone was a blinking brick of missed calls. I fed Noah mac and cheese, the kind from a box, because I didn't have the energy to cook. He sat at the counter in his socks, drawing another menu on scrap paper. He wrote, "Grandma's specials" at the top. I watched him for a second and felt my chest tighten again. But this time, it wasn't helplessness. It was resolve. After Noah went to bed, I finally checked a voicemail. It was my dad. His voice was low and furious. "What did you do?" he said. "Your mother is crying. Ryan says you're trying to ruin his future. Call me back right now." Then my mom's voicemail. Soft crying. Then anger underneath it. "Eric, please. You're taking this too far. He's your brother. You're supposed to help him." She didn't say, "Did he forge Grandma's signature?" She didn't say, "Is this true?" She didn't say, "I'm sorry Noah was hurt." She said, "You're supposed to help." That's what they always said. Like my role was a utility. Like I was a function. The next day, Ryan showed up at my gym. He came in during a beginner class while I was holding mitts for a kid who was finally learning how to keep his hands up. Ryan didn't care. He walked right onto the mat, like rules didn't apply to him. He got close and hissed, "Are you kidding me? Police over family money." I lowered my hands, told the kid to take a water break, stepped closer to Ryan so no one else could hear. "You forged her signature," I said. Ryan's eyes flicked. Just once. Like his brain did the math and realized I knew. Then he did what he always did when cornered. He tried to charm his way out. He said, "I was going to pay it back." I just stared at him. He added, "You have almost 900,000, Eric." Come on, there it was. Not denial. Not remorse. Just entitlement. I said calmly, "Don't come here again." His face twisted. "You're really going to do this?" he snapped. "In front of your kid?" And that was the part that made my hands curl into fists, even though I didn't raise them. Because he always used Noah like a shield. Like a bargaining chip. I leaned in. "Quiet," I said. "You already did it in front of my kid. At Thanksgiving." Ryan's mouth opened, then shut. He stepped back like he wanted to yell, but he didn't want witnesses. So he did what my family always did. He left. And he made me the villain somewhere else. Weary but resolute tone for the next 2 weeks, my parents tried everything. My mom showed up at my townhouse with a casserole, like we were playing pretend. I didn't let her in. She stood on my porch and whispered, "Just fix it. Just give him what he needs and make it stop." My dad sent a long text about loyalty and blood. Ryan sent messages swinging between rage and fake sadness. One day it was, "You're dead to me." The next day it was, "I can't believe you do this when I'm finally trying." My aunt called and said, "Your grandma wouldn't want this." I almost laughed, because Grandma had literally warned me this would happen. Noah started having trouble sleeping. Not because he knew details I didn't tell him, but kids feel tension like weather. One night, he came into my room with his blanket dragging behind him and said, "Are we in trouble?" I pulled him close. "No," I said. He said, "Uncle Ryan's mad." I swallowed. Uncle Ryan made choices. That's not on you. Noah nodded like he wanted to believe me. Then he whispered, "Grandma would be mad, too." And I said, "Yeah, she would." Building to climax, 3 weeks after Thanksgiving, Ryan's grand opening happened. He'd rented a small storefront in a strip mall near the highway. The kind of place that used to be a sandwich shop, then a nail salon, then sat empty with a faded for lease sign. He slapped a new name on it. Something dramatic, with the word kitchen in it. My parents were acting like it was the second coming. My mom texted me that morning. "Today is a big day. Don't be cruel." My dad texted, "If you show up, behave." I didn't respond. I wasn't going to fight. Not to gloat. I didn't want Noah anywhere near that place. But I did drive past. Not because I wanted revenge. Because part of me still couldn't believe my brother would set a grand opening date when there was an active fraud investigation. It felt like watching someone build a house on sand and act surprised at the tide. I parked across the lot, far enough away that no one would notice my car. The restaurant had balloons tied to the railing. A little red carpet runner led to the door, like he was opening a movie premiere. My mom stood out front in a dress she'd probably bought just for this. My dad was shaking hands with people like he owned the place. Ryan was near the entrance, grinning, hugging someone, playing the role. And I'll give him this. He looked happy. He looked like a man who truly believed he could fake his way into a new life. Then 2 police cars pulled into the lot. Not speeding. No sirens. Just steady. Certain. They parked right in front. Ryan's grin faltered. My mom's hand went to her chest. My dad stepped forward, like he could stop the world with authority. One officer got out. Then another. They walked up to the entrance, asked Ryan his name. I saw Ryan's shoulders shift. He tried to laugh. He tried to do that charming shrug. But the officer didn't smile. He pulled out paperwork. Ryan's face changed. It wasn't anger yet. It was fear. The kind of fear that shows up when you realize the story you told isn't going to work. People started whispering. Phones came out. My mom was saying something too fast, too high, like if she talked enough, she could cover it up. My dad looked like someone had punched him in the gut. Ryan tried to step back inside. The officer stepped with him. Then another officer moved to the side, like they'd done this 100 times. And right there, under his grand opening banner, in front of everyone who'd clapped for him at Thanksgiving, my brother was handcuffed. Quiet, reflective, emotional. I didn't feel joy. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt tired. And I felt a strange, quiet sadness that my family had spent so long protecting a man who would steal from a dying woman and still demand applause. My mom turned and looked around wildly, like she expected to spot me, like she expected me to jump out and fix it. I stayed still. I watched for a moment longer, then put my car in drive and left. That night, my phone exploded again. My mom called, sobbing. My dad left a voicemail that was mostly shouting. Ryan's wife texted me a string of insults, and then somehow a plea. This is your fault. Then, please tell them to stop. Like I had summoned the police out of spite instead of reporting a crime. My aunt sent a message that said, how could you humiliate your mother like this? That one hit me for about 2 seconds. Then I remembered Noah's face at Thanksgiving. I remembered my brother saying, *real *family. And I typed one sentence back to the group chat, the family one I'd been muted in for years. I won't fund a family my kid isn't part of. Then I turned my phone off. The real consequences weren't just legal. They were personal. My parents didn't come by for weeks after that. Not with casseroles. Not with speeches. They were embarrassed. And in my family, embarrassment mattered more than harm. Ryan's restaurant never opened. The balloons stayed tied to the railing until they sagged. Someone took down the banner after a couple days. Probably the landlord. My mom tried one more time, a month later, to slip back into my life like nothing happened. She showed up at my gym during a quiet hour, holding a bag with Noah's name on it. Inside was a chef hat, a nicer one than the cheap red ones, and a little notebook that said Recipe Journal. She smiled like she'd solved it, like this was a fix. I stared at the bag and felt something harden in me. Not cruel, just finished. I said, you watched him get left out. My mom's smile wobbled. She whispered. Ryan was excited. It wasn't about Noah. I nodded once. That's the problem, I said. She started crying. Quiet. Controlled. Then she said the line I'd heard my whole life. We're family. I looked her in the eye. Family doesn't use me as a wallet and treat my kid like an afterthought. She flinched like I'd slapped her, but I didn't raise my voice. I handed the bag back. Take it with you. Her mouth opened. I added calm. You don't get to buy him back with a hat. Music fades in, reflective, and that was it. That was my chance to stop. The chance Grandma gave me. What about you? Have you ever had to draw a line in the sand with your own family, even when it meant standing alone? I really want to know your thoughts on this one. Drop a comment below.